Hi, I want to give you a little bit of practice with premises and conclusions and go over some definitions of terms and kind of also review what is called mapping an argument, just to kind of give you a feel for this next unit and how classical argument works. So the first thing we'll start with is the definition of an argument. The definition of an argument, the formal definition, is a claim and a reason to believe that that claim is true. So in order to have an argument, you must claim something and you must have a reason for that claim. Thomas Nelson is the best community college in the Hampton Roads area because the faculty take a great deal of interest in each and every student. Okay, so that's a claim. Thomas Nelson is the best community college in the Hampton Roads area. And the reason, because the faculty take interest in individual students. Okay, so that's a claim and a reason. The conclusion of your argument, surprisingly enough, is really the main point. So in the body of your essay, you're working up to the conclusion. You're working up to proving your claim. So you're using all of your research and your evidence in the body of the essay to get to your conclusion, which is a statement supported by reasons. So again, you're going to conclude that Thomas Nelson is the best community college in the Hampton Roads area because of the faculty. And what I have to do is, in the body of my essay, show you or provide documented examples of how faculty work with students on an individual basis. So then that would be my job in order to make a solid argument, would be to come up with some concrete evidence to prove this. So reason or premise, sometimes I'll use the word reason or sometimes I'll use the word premise. They really can be used interchangeably. It depends on just which style of argument you're looking at, which textbook. So I'm giving you both of the terms so that you know that. But a reason is your evidence given to support your conclusion, evidence given to support your argument. So what are your reasons? And reasons need to be based in fact and logic so that they are believable and that somebody's going to buy into them. They're also called premises, and premises are statements offered as reason for accepting another statement. Okay, so again, the evidence that I would have that faculty work individually with students would be my premise. And I would have to come up, give you some more evidence than just that. So I wanted to give you a little bit of practice with this, just to kind of get a feel for how it works. And so I'll read this to you and we'll talk about it in the next slide. A good society treasures its dissidents and mavericks because it needs creative thinking that produces a new hypothesis, expanded means, a larger set of alternatives, and in general, the vigorous conversation induced by fresh ideas. Okay, so the premise in this statement is a good society needs creative thinking that produces new hypotheses, expanded means, a larger set of alternatives, and in general, the vigorous conversation induced by fresh ideas. That's the premise. That's the reason. The conclusion or the argument is a good society treasures its dissidents and mavericks. So a good society will treasure those people who are unusual, and they will treasure those people who are unusual because of my premise, which is the creative thinking and so forth. So that's that one. Let's see if we can get another one here. Since in American schools every child is unique and of equal worth with every other child, academic competition, which subverts this egalitarian and individualistic creed, must be discouraged. So let's see if you can identify the premises and the conclusion in this statement. Go on to the next slide. There are two premises in this one. In American schools, every child is unique and of equal worth with every child. And premise 2, academic competition subverts this egalitarian and individualistic creed. My conclusion is academic competition must be discouraged. And what's interesting about this is that what I want you to see is the order. So I've got my reasons first, and I don't have my argument until the very end. Okay? So you don't have to start with your argument, you can end with your argument. All right, we'll have another one. Make a will, otherwise the state will determine who gets your stuff. So what is the, let's go to the next slide. The premise, if you don't make a will, the state will determine who gets your stuff. The conclusion is you ought to make a will. So my argument here is make a will. Okay? And that is at the beginning of this the paragraph, I guess you would say, of the sentences. And then my premise follows. So you can do it in either order. It's not required to do it in a particular order. The next word that we need to look at, or term, is objection. And that is a reason that a claim is false. That's the evidence against the claim. So my argument, my claim, going back to the Thomas Nelson, you want to raise the objection that Thomas Nelson may not be the best community college in the Hampton Roads area because, and then you've got to have a reason. And in the video that you have in this unit, it kind of goes over the purpose of the objection and the rebuttal. And these are two elements that are absolutely essential in every argument. What the objection does is it shows the people that you are arguing with, the people that you are trying to convince, that you have looked at and considered their point of view. However, you've determined that their point of view is wrong. And that when you explain why it's wrong, that is your rebuttal. And that is what's also called an objection to an objection. So you will have an objection in your argument. You will have a reason why your argument may be considered wrong. But then you're going to explain how that is incorrect, that in reality you really are right because. So you'll have an objection to your objection. It gets a little confusing, but if you follow it through the steps, I think it'll make some more sense as we move on. The next slide is about the argument map, and this shows basically one way to organize your essay when you are trying to write it, or I guess another way of even looking at this would be an outline, or maybe a map is good. But here where it says conclusion, that would be your main argument. So what is it that you want your readers to agree with or come to understand by the end of your essay, by your conclusion? And then you're going to have your reasons here. You're going to have your objection and your rebuttal over here. And you can have several reasons. You may have one reason, two reasons, three reasons, four reasons. The number of reasons that you have determines or is based upon the complexity of your argument. You will always have an objection and a rebuttal regardless of how many reasons you have. Okay? And then this next slide that follows also just kind of goes through the rules of argument mapping and gives you some directions on how to do that. I'm not going to go over it in depth because we're going to have an assignment where you map your argument, and so you can kind of apply these. So this is just here and available to you. So that's a quick introduction to some terms, and we'll be moving on.